Hey, this is Kip Weston. I've had a lifelong fascination with adventure. I'm obsessed with uncovering stories from extraordinary people. People who break from the average and become outliers. And I want to share their stories with you. Today's guest is Wright. Izzy is a former Green Beret and now a content creator. He makes podcasts, YouTube channel, and streams. I've linked all of his projects in the description below. I really appreciated my conversation with Izzy. He had an incredible sense of introspection around his childhood, military journey, and now entrepreneurship journey in the content creation world. If you're interested in gaming, streaming, or personal development, this is a great podcast episode for you. So, let's get into it. Izzy, thanks so much for joining, man.
Oh, thanks for having me, man. I appreciate it.
You are a former Green Beret, podcaster, YouTuber, streamer, content creator. Do you just enjoy making other people feel lazy?
Man, it sounds like a lot of work when you say it like that, but this is over, all that's over the past 20 years of my life. So it's been spread out. The content creation is more recent, and, I got out of the military in late 2009. So, there's a lot that's happened. So, but yeah, basically.
Yeah, I love seeing all your content. And I'm curious, how were you introduced to the Green Berets specifically?
Green Beret specifically, I was actually living in Southern California at the time. This was, I guess you could say, late 2004, early 2005. And I was actually going to be an actor. I was going to be an actor like any young, naive person was going to be an actor. I'd already been to college. First, I went to college, got my degree, spent a couple of years.
Are you from the LA area?
Yeah, I'm from Lancaster, Palmdale area, which is the high desert, kind of north of Los Angeles. Yeah.
Yep.
So anyway, I bummed around for a couple of years, auditioned for the National Circuit School of Canada, didn't get in, came out to California, and was just doing background work. You can see me in Memoirs of a Geisha and House of the Dead 2, if you ever want to look those up for trivia. But yeah, and I had no plans to join the Army. My family's always been we're pretty conservative, pretty pro-military, that kind of thing. Always had a positive impression of the military. And that was at that time, the Iraq war was, in full swing.
Yeah.
GWAT was the thing. That was our mentality in terms of how we were going to engage with the world militarily. And so early 2005, I would drive by the recruiter's office every morning on my way into town. I was living with my aunt and uncle in Santa Clarita. I'd drive into town, do background work, extra work on sets, drive back up. And that was my life basically. And I was going to be an actor. I didn't really have a plan for how that was going to work out, but I just kind of went in one day. This was like early February, and I talked to the Army recruiter, and I was an easy target because I didn't really know what I was doing with my life. And so I left 2 weeks later. And I was going to be a ranger. I had an option 40 contract, and I went into basic training, and I met a bunch of guys who were reclassing. They were already prior service. They were in the military, and then they were changing their jobs, dropping their packets to try out for Special Forces selection. And I met them. They were great guys. And they said, "Oh, you should be a Green Beret and Special Forces." And my recruiter had not done a very good job of explaining to me what that was, which admittedly, maybe he didn't know. There's like a video you watch that's from 1985. It's like, this is a Green Beret, so they explained that
old-timey folksy voiceover.
Exactly. Yeah.
Hey, welcome.
Yeah. You too can be a Green Beret, the Special Forces from Vietnam or whatever,
Yeah.
So that sounded like a lot of fun when they talked about what Green Berets did, what Special Forces were all about, like building relationships, getting out in the front lines, kind of the unconventional soldiers, not just being kind of like a foot soldier. I was like, oh, that's awesome. And so there was a Green Beret recruiter on base, and I got him to change my contract and went to Airborne school at Fort Benning. I don't know what they call it now. They're changing all the base names these days. So it was Fort Benning, Georgia at the time. And went to Airborne, and then PCS'd over to Fort Bragg. I just Fort Liberty now, Fort Boring name. And yeah, went to selection after that. So that was kind of the beginning phases, at least.
Do you mind detailing what makes Green Berets unique among Special Forces? Because my impression is they're like Swiss Army knives. They go in and build things, and it's a very cool niche to occupy.
Yeah, the Special Forces is actually special operations is a blanket term. Special forces are the Green Beret. That's the name of my
Gotcha.
unit. With special forces, Green Beret, it's the same thing. I mean, Green Berets, we have it's special operations, right? We're not just regular infantry, but we have specializations like foreign internal defense, guerrilla warfare, counterinsurgency, that kind of stuff. So we can kick indoors and that kind of stuff, but it's a 12-man ODA. It's an operational detachment alpha. It's called an A team. And it's a senior NCO, a captain, chief warrant officer, an intelligence officer, 18 Foxtrot, and then you got 2 of each specialization. So it's an 18 Bravo, which is your weapons guy. It's a junior and senior of each one. 18 Charlie, that's your engineer, blowing stuff up and building it. 18 Delta, that's your medic. And then 18 Echo, which is what I was, which is the communications sergeant. So I was the junior communications sergeant on the teams that I was on when I was in. So yeah, it's Deo Presso Liber is the Green Beret motto. And so it's going into an area we're called a force multiplier. So going into ideally, like traditionally Vietnam up to now, one of the main things we've done, especially in the GWAT era, was training the forces within the country, foreign internal defense, creating allies, training their troops. So we did a little bit of that in Iraq. We're training Iraqis at the time. But then also, you know, we do intelligence gathering, go around to the local towns, meet with the Mukhtars and the mayors, the imams and stuff, get to know them, try to build relationships with them and find ways of being mutually beneficial. Because, you know, at the time, the idea was there was an insurgency. So we were fighting and we were trying to establish the government of Iraq and legitimize that and back them. And then there was an insurgency, men, weapons, and equipment coming from all over Iran, Syria, that kind of stuff, trying to destabilize. And that was the biggest game in town at the time. And so that was in addition to training those guys, we were doing kind of, you know, all the Zero Dark 30 kind of stuff, flying around in the helicopters, going around at night, going after bad guys, what have you. And so yeah, special forces it's a lot of fun. It was the greatest time of my life. It was the best decision I ever made. I continue to get benefits from it to this day. So it was really, I'm very honored with everything that I did. And I was only in for a very short time. Traditionally, guys come, they're in the military and then they kind of drop a packet to try out. They go to selection, right? I was what's called an 18 X-ray, which means that I came in off the street and you kind of have a pipeline that you're going into. You do your basic, your AIT, go to Airborne school, you go to selection, and then you have to kind of keep achieving as you go. If you fail at any point in the pipeline process after selection, you go to what's called needs of the Army, which means they're just going to put you wherever. Usually it was the 82nd Airborne infantry unit, you know? And so basically that was like a big popular program at the time where they wanted to plus up the numbers. They wanted to add, I think, a battalion's worth of soldiers to all of the special forces groups. They're all kind of around the world and they have different focuses. And like first group, my group was Asia. That's like their area of operation or area of expertise, you know, so everybody learns the language and, you know, you kind of, that kind of try to do that specialization. Everybody went to Iraq anyway, because that was like what was happening at the time. But yeah, does that answer your question?
Yeah, definitely. The thing I'm really curious about is you studied acting in college, and after all the work you put in for acting before the military, I'm wondering, did those skills transfer at all? Like knowing how to hold a scene in a sense, did that help when you came into a village? Or like, were there any skills that you had working on that transferred?
I mean, from being a theater major or studying acting, going into the military, I would say no.
Yeah.
But for me, it was more a matter of maturity. Like I was a very young 24, and I know that I don't know. I guess we just give guys permission to just be, you know, little kids up until whenever. But like I was, you know, when you're 24, yeah, exactly. But I had no idea what I was doing. I had no maturity, no responsibility. I had no real kind of hardships in my life. I kind of came from a broken home, but that has its own set of problems. But no, going into the military was a good choice. It was a beneficial choice. It was actually, I feel like God led me into the military to have some hardship, go through some hard times, have some disappointments, have some challenges, make some mistakes. And the great thing about my military experience is that I continue to benefit from it even to this day, because as I get older, I look back on my experiences and I learn new lessons, right? There's what you learn in the moment, and then there's kind of what you reflect on as you look back, and you're like, you learn something new. It's the gift that keeps on giving. And I'm very thankful for it. It's like I said, it's the best decision I ever made in my life.
Yeah. Yeah. Something I've heard you say is that you weren't very good at 24 at being told what to do. I'm curious, like that. I can imagine that does not work well in the military, but it probably is great for entrepreneurship. Kind of like, I'm not going to be told what to do. I'm going to find my own way. I'm going to make it happen.
Yeah. I mean, I think the military was good for, it is good for that, for like the structure. The Army provides a lot of structure. The military does. And it's a lot of structure. It's a lot of tradition. But
after your childhood, was that something you were hungry for? Maybe in retrospect now?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I definitely benefited from it. It taught me the benefits of discipline, of showing up on time, of consistency, and of achievement, like the joy that comes from achieving things, the honor of being a part of something bigger than myself. That's all. I like to say the Army is full of opportunities, right? No guarantees, but a lot of opportunities. And I took advantage of a lot of those, and I had a lot of fun. Yeah, in the military. But the cool thing about special forces is because you are on a smaller unit, it's 12 guys. I felt like everybody's opinion matters that much more, and you have a lot more opportunities to create really strong relationships and bonds. Like it happens in the military, I think, typically because of the environment that you're in. No matter what unit you're in, you can create those bonds. But I feel like they are there's the opportunity is greater when you're on a smaller team, right? And I was on a good team, and I was on a not so good team. I had kind of the gamut of experiences in the military.
Yeah. Could you share is there any funny stories in training that jump out to you?
Oh man. I mean, there's one of the coolest stories that I was ever personally a part of was during Robin Sage, I think, if I recall correctly. And Robin Sage is the final field training exercise that you do right before you become a Green Beret. It's the culminating exercise. All of your training is brought
your big
to bear.
Thesis almost.
Exactly. It's your thesis. Yeah. We were we got dropped off, and small unit, like 4 or 5 guys. Our job was to infill, and there was like a cabin that out in this field where we had some op 4 there. There was like a bad guy and his crew there. We were supposed to spend the night, and then in the morning we were going to coordinate to have an assault on this cabin, and we were kind of getting battened down. And one of the guys, not me, I can't take credit for this, but one of the guys on the team, he's like, "Hey guys, why don't we just go right now?" Because they're supposed to be like ready, but they know it's going to happen tomorrow. It's all scheduled. It's all part of the game. He's like, yeah, nobody's going to be ready for us right now. I was like, that's such a great idea, man. And so we kind of got our stuff together, and we did everything we had to do. We maneuvered to the cabin, and of course everybody was asleep because they're thinking we're going to come tomorrow. And we go in there, and when you get close, when you're doing sim rounds and that kind of stuff, when you get into a certain closeness, you're not allowed to shoot because that would injure somebody. So you say safety kill. So we go in there and we go safety kill, safety kill. We're like whispering to these guys, safety kill, safety kill, safety kill. And like the cadre, he was like, "Get the out of here! What are you doing there?" He was so mad. And we're like, safety kill everybody. And then we get out of there, we run away, and then we go off. And it's like, that was like one of the cadre came the next day in the morning, and he was like, "Listen, guys, that was really special forces. That was really good job. That was really cool of you that you did that. Now we're still going to make you do what we planned for you to do this morning." But that was just, I'll always remember that. And I will always envy that kind of like outside the box thinking, because I have trouble. I may have had trouble in the past of taking orders, but what I desire is to have that kind of abstract kind of thinking, because I really enjoyed the structure that I got in the military. And I think I've
Yeah.
kind of carried that with me. I like organization. I like being on a schedule. I like, I work for myself now. So I got to give myself structure throughout the day, and sometimes I struggle with it. But creativity, outside the box thinking, abstract thinking. Oh, I'll always remember that experience, because I would really like to be able to think that way.
Yeah, that is interesting. I can see how there's a distinction between following orders to a T as you want it to be and having the special part of knowing where to navigate around mission objectives. That's
Yeah.
really interesting.
Yeah. Special forces is Green Berets. It's good to have that, because you are within a structure, you have a command system, but then within that, you can find creative ways of getting your job done. And I don't know that I took fullest advantage of it, because I wasn't in for all that long. It's certainly not according to the culture, because you guys that do special forces, that's like a career thing, man. You stay in. My second team sergeant had already been in the military for like 18, 19 years when I met him, and he stayed in longer after I left. But that's a cool thing about the special forces format, is that that's welcome, that creative thinking,
Yeah.
and that being a self-starter and taking initiative. And I love that. Yeah.
Among your peers in the groups you served with, is there like a percentage you could give me of people who all grew up with the ambition, I want to be a Green Beret, and people maybe more in your group of, oh, like, I just, this is very cool and I'm super excited to be here, but the cards just kind of played out and I busted my butt to get here, but it wasn't like I grew up with this poster on the wall trying to get here.
Right. I actually, because I was an 18 X-ray, I met a lot of other 18 X-rays, which is, the civilian right into the pipeline kind of thing. And I met some really interesting guys. There was one guy he was a club owner in Texas, and he was successful, and he just got bored with it. He wanted something more out of his life. And I met some, a diverse group of dudes who tended to skew actually a little bit older. And that's typical in special forces. You have either been in the military or you came off the street, and you tend to be a little bit kind of 20s, 30s kind of guys. And so I was very honored to get to know some of these guys. And one guy in particular, TJ, my buddy, we're still friends to this day. And I've visited him and his family. He's a doctor now, and he was an 18 Delta, super smart guy. It was a really, but then also just totally a goofy dudes. You know what I mean? Like when we would get off training at Fort Bragg, and we'd go out and party, we would do things like we'd go out to dinner, but we would all have to dress up as somebody else. Like we'd have to have a persona that you had to keep through the entire evening at dinner. And so we dress up in weird costume, weird outfits, and just the goofiest kind of thing. So it was a good group of guys to be in. There were some regular Army dudes who had come in and kind of gotten in with our class that you go through. But for the most part, I feel like the guys that I most connected with were the people that just came in off the streets and kind of did the 18 X-ray pathway.
Yeah. How closely do you keep up with the team? I mean, I imagine you have a pretty unique career among your peers, or is that not fair to say?
Well, I mean, yeah, as far as I know, I don't know how many other guys have come into the entertainment industry. To be honest, I have not kept in touch with a lot of the guys that I was in the service with. TJ is one of them. Aaron Baruga is another guy who I kind of connected with, but even he went off and he's doing some pretty amazing stuff in the tactical training area. But no, to be honest, man, I haven't really kept in touch with a lot of those guys, and that's just a function of my temperament, my personality. Life gets in the way, and you just kind of, for no good reason. But I haven't really kept up with them. So.
I just feel like a baby sometimes. They're still learning object permanence.
Yeah.
I feel like that sometimes with people, like, oh, if you're not in front of me.
Yeah, it's tough, especially in Los Angeles. LA is one of those places where you come here with a goal, some sort of big ambition. And LA is such a spread out place that if like you say, if they're not in front of your face kind of every day, that circle that you run in, where it's work, social life, home, that little circle can be about maybe 5 to 10 miles. And then that's it. Like, I can't tell you the last time I went to the beach, and I live very close to the beach. So,
right.
So yeah, it's just it's an interesting life. So
in that, I wonder on the transition from military structure to back to LA. One of the, correct me if I'm wrong, but one of the distinctions I would think is the military is all about we in the team. How can we help each other? And my impression of LA is it's a lot of go-getters, but it's a lot of me. Like, what can I do to help me? And is that a weird transition going from the we to me?
I mean, it's definitely the percentages are higher of people that are like that. Like you
Yeah,
say, they came to LA they're driven, right? There's selfish people everywhere. So there's selfish people. I met some weasels in the military, and there's
yeah,
people like that out in Los Angeles. But no, I mean, there's good people too. You
yeah,
have to seek them out because LA is full of millions of people, and so the chances are greater that you'll meet some weasels along the way. But when you find those good people that are reliable and trustworthy and like-minded or whatever, you tend to want to hold on to those people. And like a garden, you have to cultivate those relationships. You have to put the work in. Otherwise, life kind of takes over and they just kind of fade away.
yeah. No, that makes sense. And I didn't mean singularly ambitious in a bad way necessarily, but
Sure,
I
sure.
just it's just an interesting culture, I think.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, LA is I've heard it can be very isolating, uh,
Sure.
or feel very isolating. You can feel alone in a city full of people, and I get that. It's because of the draw of ambition, which it has its own advantages. You have to put in the effort to create relationships. Uh, um, you know, like you do and like you do anywhere, really.
Yeah. But I imagine the people you've been able to surround yourself with is another great group of people that are all working towards their own goals. They're all in the content creation space. Like these are fun people to be around, I would imagine.
Well, yeah, I mean, for me, at this particular time in my life, you're meeting me a couple years into. Actually, only recently got married, even though I'm in my 40s, and I moved away from where I had been living for about 11 years. This kind of place in the valley, in Los Angeles, and so a little bit. My life circumstances were such that I actually did not have a very large friend group when I met my wife. And then I have even fewer people that I associate with regularly now that I'm married and living where I'm living. And even where we are living is a little bit outside of our friend group. So we really have to make an effort to go over to other people's places because their life takes over and you're out of sight, out of mind. And so not only that, but I work from home now. And so I do not spend a lot of time with people right now. But one thing I can tell you is I'm very thankful for all the people that I've met up to this point. I moved to Los Angeles in 2010 and I was pursuing acting at the time very ardently. Worked at a great gym in Los Angeles and met a lot of great people there. That was my social life. And then also a lot of people from the entertainment industry would also work out there. And so I built a lot of great relationships and a lot of great opportunities came out of that. And as a result of my military experience, every almost every major opportunity that I've ever gotten in the entertainment industry has been because of my military experience. It's kind of like in LA, you got to find a way to differentiate yourself, right? You got to find a
Yeah.
reason for people to hire you or for people to look at your resume or to look twice at you. And for me, just, a stunningly good looking white guy in Los Angeles, there's a ton of us around. So, so the military thing had to be that thing that I used. And I'm very thankful that I had it. It feels weird sometimes, but it's almost like you're using like a selling card to sell yourself. Like I got the military card, but if you do it in the right way, you can still maintain your integrity and also use it to build relationships.
Oh yeah. If you have that card in your deck, you should play it. And you earned that card. I would
Right,
use it.
right, exactly.
Yeah.
I'm very proud of that. So yeah.
Yeah. What so after your military career, what was the decision tree like for you to say, okay, I want to try acting again?
I mean, I had always wanted to be an actor. And even when I went into the military, I said, I'm going to do this for a couple of years and then I'm going to leave and go back to being an actor. And so
That
it was
was your
more,
like waiting tables,
yeah, yeah,
doing
yeah, yeah. I figured at the
the quick
time,
jaunt.
yeah, exactly. Just go to like a little sidetrack, for 4 or 5 years. But I mean, really that was the plan. I recognized, or I had enough maturity, I guess I should say at the time, That's to be like, I'm not doing anything of note. If I leave and if for a couple of years and I come back, nobody's going to notice. My career's not going to, I had no career. I had, it's not going to suffer for it. And I will have come back with some life experience and, a little bit of cash and some, all that good stuff that you can get from an experience like the military. And so it was a done deal. I spoke with my team sergeant at the time, Tom Williams, great guy, best team leader I ever had. And I asked him, I was thinking about getting out, and it's like, do you think I should stay? I could stay. He's like, listen, if you have something you want to go do, if you have a goal out there, just go do that. There's always going to be a reason to stay in the military. There's going to give you a school or a bonus or a posting. They're always going to offer you something. But if you got something you want to go do that. And I really appreciated that. And I took his advice, and I'm glad I did. I love my life as it is right now. And that might have been very different had I spent a couple more years in the military, and then come out later. I don't know.
Yeah. How long do you think you've had a calling to entertain?
Man, it's a tough question because I have always loved performing.
Yeah.
So ever since I was a little kid, but I had kind of a revelation in my 30s that, maybe the reason I wanted to perform was just because I wanted somebody to pay attention to me. I come from the standard broken home, right? Parents divorced at a young age, a lot of divorce, a lot of fighting, a lot of moving around, a lot of instability. And obviously that affects you. It would affect anybody, any kid growing up in that environment. It's not the best. You kind of lose out on a lot of developmental stuff that other kids get when they have that stable lifestyle. And so performing was this thing that I could do where people were looking at me and validating me and being entertained by me. I could make people laugh or make people smile or make people feel good. And so being an actor, that was always in my head growing up. It's why I went to college and did the theater major thing. It's why I did circus arts for a little bit when I was in my 20s, and what I wanted to do once I got out of the military. And so I've had to kind of come to grips with that because I've spent all this time, with the classes and the lifestyle and the pursuit. And then to kind of come to this place of like, wait, do I really want to be an actor, or do I just want somebody to love me? It's like this kind of weird kind of thing when you kind of get into the heart of it. It's like, is that really what I want? And so I've come to this place now where I love making people happy, and I love entertaining people, and I love people. And I want people I meet to do well, and I want to help in some way. And so that's kind of where I'm at right now with my entertainment and with my content creation. Is I want to help, even if it's just to help you to have a little bit better of a day, to just brighten your day just a little bit. That's a good thing, because life, man, you know how it is stressful and it never stops, and if you can just take a little pit stop on somebody's stream or watch a little video that makes you feel better, it ain't much, but it's something, and it's all part of the tapestry of helping you get through your day, so yeah, I do want to keep doing this, and I'm thankful for the opportunity to do what I do. And now I want to step it up a few notches. I want to bring it up a level, and not just entertain, but actually help people in some way.
Right. Yeah, that's a beautiful amount of introspection. Thank you for sharing. That must have taken a long time to work through. I can imagine.
Oh, man. Yeah, still working through it,
Totally. And as far as the content creation goes, have you noticed a change in maybe your motivation for output? When you started, it's maybe like, how can I generate as much attention as possible? Versus now, I would say, just based on that conversation, it's how can I help as many, or how can I brighten the most amount of people's day?
Right.
Like it's a little shift of objective in the creation.
No, you're totally right, man. If I had to be honest with myself back in the day, my goal was to be successful. And that's, if you know anybody that knows about goal setting, that's not a goal. That's not specific. It's not, it's you can't grasp at it. It's not real. And so, yeah, I absolutely, I've done a little bit of work, the Simon Sinek stuff, find your why, a little bit of Jordan Peterson, a little bit of, David Goggins, a little bit of Andrew Huberman, that kind of stuff, like finding out trying to get these tools. I'm a Christian, looking into God's word and trying to find out, you got to start from the inside out. Who am I? Where am I at? And then what unique tools or abilities do I have to help somebody out there, anybody out there? So yeah, definitely I'm trying to work from the inside out now. And yeah, really be of benefit. And then also continue to excel and bring kind of some of those principles of being a Green Beret with me out into life, because I will always have been a Green Beret. I will always have been in Special Forces. I don't want it to be the totality of my online identity when I present myself to the world, but I definitely want to take that essence with me, because there's a lot of good stuff you can take from that.
There was a conversation I had last week with someone else, and he posed a really good question that seems like this, where describe yourself, but you can't highlight anything in your past or anything you plan to do in your future. If someone asks, like, who are you?
Wow.
Like, oh, yeah. It's kind of like, what's your core identity? And I get it, not wanting to be Izzy separate from the past, but still proud of everything you've accomplished. And it's an interesting personal journey.
Yeah, it is. And it's, I think, especially in this day and age, we're suffering from a dearth of meaning in our lives, meaning and purpose. I think man, I don't know. This is like all looking at the zeitgeist of everything going on, but we're depressed, we're sad, we're unhealthy, we're confused, we're fearful, all this kind of stuff coming at us. Social media certainly hasn't helped all that. But yet at the same time, we are who we've always been in terms of our common humanity and desire for intimacy and love or purpose, that kind of stuff. And so if you're on that journey, I commend you, because it's definitely something that I think can be beneficial to all of us. And then when you do that kind of work on yourself, then all of a sudden life looks differently. Your problems look different. Maybe your goals change, and hopefully things don't seem as bleak as they might have otherwise before you started.
Yeah. Yeah, that's beautifully said. If I were to break down your content output, so I think of you as like guest starring, like the podcast work. I know it's kind of indefinite pause, but
right.
Then there's YouTube, your personal YouTube channel, and streaming. Is there one that you are most excited for among those?
The one I'm most excited for now is actually a new content that I'm working on right now, and I won't say too much about it because follow my
give
channel.
Me an exclusive.
It's definitely going to be personal. It's going to be meaningful to me, and hopefully it will be helpful to other people. And it will be centered around video gaming, because that's what I have, and that's what I'm passionate about. And so that's what I'm going to try to make my new content about. I love streaming. I'm not a big streamer by any means. I've been streaming 3 days a week, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, on twitch.tv/Myhappyself for about 4.5 years. And I love it. I love the community that we have built up. I love the regularity that it provides me, and the access to my audience that I have. If anybody comes in, they see me on any other content, they can come and they can hang out for a while, and they can interact with me. And I like that. And so, but the one I'm most excited about is this new content that I'm making myself, apart from anything pop culture field manual, shift fire, gameology, anything like that. Cameron, I'll always be thankful to Cameron, meeting him and doing the gameology stuff 4 years ago. That really set us both on a path to new career opportunities. And he has got some great opportunities. He's got his Netflix show, Toughest Forces on Earth. You can go check that out right now. And then through that, he's got some more opportunities that he's pursuing. But I don't know, he has never really I don't think he wanted to be like a full-time content creator. I think he was still trying to find out where he was going to land and find his, be of benefit. And so he's more kind of in pursuing the tactical firearms kind of world. And I have always wanted to do the content creation, or entertainment at least. And so I'm pursuing kind of the content world. But anyway, I'm excited for the reason of doing it on my own. I've always kind of been a part of a team, or, whether it's the podcast or the gameology stuff, having people around me. This stuff I got to do on my own. I got to write the script, film it, edit it all together, and put it out there. And that's really scary, really, really scary. But it's what I need. I think it's the next natural evolution in terms of my career, but then also my maturity and my life.
Yeah. Yeah. I can emphasize with that. Certainly in your field, in terms of entrepreneurship and content creation, you own end to end. I mean, like the script to editing, filming, but
Right.
even like the business side. I'm sure you're running an LLC and filing, like you're an
Right.
accountant too.
Oh man.
And so there's so much to do. And I imagine in the military, like your role is, like you said, communications. Like it's pretty niche, right? And then there's teammates to rely on for other.
Well, actually, in special forces, it's cool because yes, you do have your specialty, but you
Mm,
also cross train the other jobs as often as you can on a team. So I would do medical trainings with our medics, and we would do demo training with our Charlies, and then of course we always did weapons training because you're a soldier. And
yeah,
so I was thankful for that aspect of being on a team, which because you had the stuff that you were primarily responsible for, but you also had to get a little smattering of everything else. And so it helped to create a really well-rounded experience. And certainly it's continued to benefit me today because I have to discipline myself and create my own structure and then also decide where my priorities are for this week, what really needs to get done and what can I put on the back burner. And it's good. I really am. Like I said, I'm very thankful for where I'm at right now in life and in my
yeah.
career. I just hope it all works out.
I'm loving it, man. How do you think about triaging all your to-dos?
I mean,
Do you use like an Eisenhower matrix? Like how do you structure what
oh,
the day
geez,
looks
I don't even
like?
know what that is, man. That sounds awesome.
Oh,
Uh,
you
I,
should. I love it. I use it.
Eisenhower
It's great.
matrix. Oh, that's
Yeah.
great. I should definitely check that out. I mean, I love lists. I use my iCal pretty heavily, and so on a Sunday afternoon, I'll think about what I have to get done the next week, and then I'll kind of put it out smattering throughout the week. I like the structure that the stream provides, so I know I've got a stream Monday, Wednesday, Friday. So
Yep.
Tuesdays and Thursdays are pretty open. So I kind of front load editing stuff, like I'm putting together some behind the scenes videos for Cameron's Netflix show that we shot for Pop Culture Field Manual on YouTube. And
Yeah.
so that's been fun to teach myself editing on DaVinci Resolve, which is free, which is awesome. And so that's it kind of goes back and forth. It's I have this maybe my temperament or my personality. It's whatever's right in front of me is the only thing that exists. And I'm easily distracted. So I like writing things down and I try to keep them in as few places as possible. I use the notes app on my iPhone. I use iCalendar. And so if it's somewhere, if it's written down, then I can trust myself that I've written it down. And then whenever I get into like editing or writing a script or
Yeah.
streaming, that creates a lot of like settledness within me because I can I get a little lost when it comes to all the different tools that you can utilize to organize your day and create priorities and that kind of stuff.
Right.
I go through seasons too. You go through seasons where you're kind of trying to learn, and then you go through seasons where you're just doing. You're like, I gotta
Yeah.
produce. I gotta create this. I gotta produce content, and then you kind of feel like you get a good rhythm. And so maybe there's a little bit of self knowledge that you build up where you can kind of feel where okay, my plate's getting a little full. It's kind of pull back. Time to pull back in these areas, or I've kind of neglected this for a while. Okay, we're going to put that at the top of the list, and we're not going to do anything else this week.
Yeah.
So it's a combination of a couple of different things.
How much does the medium affect your creation process?
The medium of content
Medium,
creation,
like,
like
yeah, if you're going to do a YouTube submission or a podcast submission, like, how do you go about creating something?
I mean, that is a really good question because even though I've been a performer for most of my life, I don't consider myself to have been a very creative person. When,
Interesting.
yeah, when you're an actor, you get everything. You
Hmm.
get a script, you get a costume, you get a sound, you get stage, you get lightings, you get a director, you get a partner, and there's a lot of you do a lot of training with reacting honestly within emotional, or within imaginary circumstances rather, and you learn the technical aspects if you're on set, or if you're on stage, but you are reacting. Ideally, you're reacting, and
Yeah.
I know there's a lot more to it, but to the level that I got it, that's kind of the basis of acting. Now, when it comes to you know, and then even if you talk about gameology, shift fire, pop culture field manual, what am I doing? I'm reacting to other stuff. I'm reacting to other content, to video games, to movies, to music. I'm reacting to camera. I'm just talking to Cameron for the podcast, you know?
Right.
So now I'm in a time in my life where I have to actually produce something, hopefully that's original, hopefully that's authentic to me. So I have to have that self-knowledge. I have to kind of introspect and ask myself, what do I have to give? And what am I passionate about? And then you have the practical skill of editing. And then that changes the process, because editing is a magical thing. You can do so much if you have the right skills and the right tools, and they're all out there too. I feel like the technology is at the level of entry to become a content creator. The bar is so low because all that stuff's out there now, and most of it's pretty low cost or free. So that's been a really interesting thing to kind of come to terms with, because it's hard to innovate and it's hard to create, you know. I did a lot of research. I have a horror gaming channel that has no followers and no viewers, called the Izzy Files, where I play horror games. And that was a project. That was actually a collaborative project with somebody else. But in doing the research for it, we had a long list of creators, all the top creators, like 100 creators. And YouTube is in an interesting place right now. I think YouTube's in an interesting place based on what I know, because we've had a whole generation of content creators that were like the first ones to actually make a career out of it, right? 2011, 2012, 2013, these people started popping up: Markiplier, Jacksepticeye, PewDiePie, right? And we saw them, they got the hundreds of millions of views, or, you know, tens of millions of followers, and they started making money. YouTube started monetizing, and there's a whole generation. And now a lot of these guys there's some of them are starting to retire, right? They're starting to get out of it. You know, Corey Kenshin, he hasn't made a video in like a year. You know, he's a top dog, because these are these young guys that had all this success, and now they're in their late 20s, early 30s. And they're like, what am I going to do now? What am I going to do with my life? So a lot of them are like, I'm going to go off. You know, you still got some people that are still, they're doing stuff. Logan Paul, you got Markiplier. But then even Markiplier, you know, he's going off. He's making his own movies, and I'm sure Logan Paul, he's got business opportunities and that kind of stuff. And so YouTube, the landscape it's established, I would say. But it's now is the time to like, what do you do? How do you innovate? Right. Cause it's the first things have already happened. I'm not going to become a famous Minecraft streamer or Fortnite streamer, you know, or Fortnite content creation. I'm not good at Elden Ring. I can't, you know, make that I can't be like a top gamer kind of guy. But I love gaming, and I've been gaming my whole life, and I'm at the age that I'm at, and I have the experiences that I've had as a military guy. And so what do I do with all that? And that's kind of where I'm at right now in my life. It's what can I contribute, and how can I make it unique and authentic, and how can I make it something that helps people some way?
Yeah, well, I mean, you're equipped with such a great Rolodex of experience. You can just pull from anything, like, oh, I can use this.
Right.
It's perfect. Could you walk me through like the emotions you're experiencing for creating a YouTube video where that's like a scripted experience? So if like, okay, I have an idea for a thing, is there excitement, and then it's like a dread of having to write it out, and then excitement again for filming?
Right. I mean, I'm really new in this process. I can tell you, when it comes to the behind the scenes stuff for Cameron's show, that was my opportunity to learn how to edit, basically, because we had kind of, you know, he had kind of said, hey, I'm going to step away. I'm going to do my own thing after those were filmed. Well, I was like, well, I can still put them out there. You know, I can still use them as my opportunity to learn how to edit. So the process of learning how to edit was intimidating, and it was a little scary. But then as I gained some of the basic tools on DaVinci Resolve, and I started putting things together, I found out that it was really exhilarating.
Yeah.
I have a visual mind, a visual imagination. I see things in movies and pictures or whatever. And so to have a vision in my mind of wanting something to happen on screen in the video, and then to make it happen and watch it turn out exactly the way that I envisioned, that's really exhilarating. And so editing has been a lot of fun in that there's a lot of satisfaction that comes as like those little, you know, joyful little hits, you know, dopamine hits or whatever. I know it's not the proper term. Huberman would hate me for that. But getting that satisfaction over and over and over again, and then watching the whole thing come together. And then, oh God, I don't know how to make a thumbnail. I got to make a thumbnail. Okay. I'm going to go over to this website. I'm going to try to learn how to make the perfect thumbnail
Sure.
that exists. And then it's like, well, okay, now, so YouTube's all about the title, right? You got to get the good site. You got to capitalize that word, and you got to talk, that word over there. So that whole process, it starts out scary. It starts out intimidating, but I'm at the point in my life now where I know that's just an emotion. It has no substance to it, no meaning. It's just my reaction, because that's kind of the psychology that I'm, the background that I'm coming into it with, right? It doesn't mean anything. So knowing that now, I can push through that. And the answer to fear for me in a lot of situations is knowledge. If I could just learn about what's making me fearful, all of a sudden it kind of dissipates. It turns into a vapor and it goes away. Now, when it comes to actually writing or coming up with this idea, let's say this first idea that I had, it started to solidify when I started asking myself, like I did the Simon Sinek kind of find your why, and I'll tell you what my why statement is. I got it on a Post-it note right here. So there's a whole book, you go through the whole process and talk to people and write things down. So my why is to explore and celebrate deep human connection so that others will be inspired to seek deeper human connection in their lives. That's my why statement. So he has this whole thing with, you got to start with why, then you go out to the how, and then it's the actual what, it's the actual product you're making. He talks about it in terms of businesses. So looking at that and looking at, I had to ask myself, what do I have? What do I have that nobody else has? And I thought, well, I've got my life, I've got my experiences, and I've got specifically, I've got gaming as a part of my life in the midst of a very sucky life, a sucky young life, like very tumultuous, lot of just, very kind of like broken home, white trash kind of experiences,
Yeah.
But throughout most of that, I had gaming. I've been playing games since I was like 4 years old, and I got my first Nintendo when I was 8, I think. And so what about that? What about growing up like that and having these games where I didn't have mentors. I didn't have my dad was busy with work. My mom was on her third husband. I was moving around a lot. Nobody was there for me. But, when I get to pop in Final Fantasy VII and I get to have that little adventure and that little escape with Cloud and Tifa, and, and all the others characters and stuff, like, it's like, it ain't the healthiest thing, but it's all I had at that time,
Yeah.
And so what can I glean from that kind of thing? So that's really the nucleus or the heart of the series that I'm working on right now is really just kind of autobiographical. It's a very, very video essay kind of format. But then that's also storytelling. So now I got the skill and art of storytelling. Well, now that's something I got to learn, right?
Yeah.
I got to watch some videos. I got to listen to some audiobooks or some podcasts, or I got to, read some books and see, look, well, not only I have the raw materials for a good story, but it's how you tell it. Oh, that you can make an event so mundane sound really interesting if you tell it a certain way. And so there's skills and tools for that. And so it's a process of, coming up with the idea, the fear of the unknown, the fear of not being able to know how to do it.
And fear of sharing something. It sounds like very intimate and personal versus.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's not so much of a problem for me. I come from a family of oversharers. We just tend to talk about really deep and serious stuff in the middle of a crowded room. And so I've actually had to pull back a little bit in my personal life. Like, my wife is not an oversharer. And so we've had to kind of find that balance, but that is not the hardest part. Like, we're not here for very long, right? Life is short. And so if I can tell my story, and that's going to help somebody maybe get a little bit of peace or find some perspective in their life or whatever, I will tell you anything. I will tell you about my faults and all my fears and the failures that I've had. I'll tell you about my wins. I'll tell you my personal beliefs. I'll tell you the things I agree and don't agree with, my politics, all that kind of stuff. Because you know, going back to my why, we're very disconnected. You know, we're very kind of in camps nowadays, right? And we're not coming together. We're made for intimacy. We're relational beings, and so I want to help with that, help bring people together. I can, and if telling my story and being vulnerable is a way to do that, well, yeah, that's fine with me. I have no problem with that.
Yeah, that's a beautiful how. That's awesome, man. What a great exercise. And were there people that, I mean, was your now wife like a real source of inspiration in getting you there?
My wife and I, one of the things I love about my wife, she's very industrious. She is a self-starter. She is she's awesome. And so when we got together, we both like growing in all ways, spiritually, physically, emotionally, nutrition, books, that kind of stuff.
Yep.
We have a thirst for knowledge. You call it a growth mindset, I guess. I've heard the term. We definitely have that. I always want to be improving. I always want to be learning something. And she's the same way. So it's been great for accountability and bouncing ideas off of her. And then she has just been the most supportive of this path that I'm on. I've had a pretty unconventional life. You know, I spent my 30s pursuing acting instead of building a career where, you know, a lot of people that I meet now, they're in the midst of or coming toward the end of their careers that they've been on since like their 20s, you know, and that hasn't been my life. Apart from being in the Army, I have not had a very structured kind of career path. I had a great job at a gym for 10 years, but that's not a career if you're not going into the fitness industry. I was trying to be an actor, and now I have this revelation about acting, and it's like, well, what am I going to do? So I'm starting over in my 40s. And my wife has been so supportive of that. And I'm so grateful to her, and it's it's been a source of strength, and it helps keep me going, you know, when days are hard. So it's amazing. She's amazing.
Yeah, that's beautiful. I could see how you, like you mentioned, your faith in your now family can guide you in any sort of journey you have.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And I'll say this about my family, us kids, there's 4 of us. I'm the youngest of 4. It's amazing because we all love each other. We're all kind of spread out throughout the United States, but we stay in touch. We support each other when we can. We love each other. We talk to each other. We commiserate over our horrible upbringings together. So I'm thankful. I'm thankful for that as well, because it didn't have to be that way. We could have all ended up bitter, broken, you know, people, or bitter at least. We're still pretty broken. So,
hey, do you mind humoring me for some speed round questions?
Yeah, absolutely, man.
Awesome. What is your favorite video game right now?
I'm playing a lot of Helldivers 2. I got over 300 hours in Helldivers 2. It's great. It's great for my work schedule right now because I can drop in, do a quick game, and drop out maybe on my lunch break. It's great for playing on stream. I play with some of my community members. And then for chill times, No Man's Sky. I just discovered No Man's Sky, and that is a really chill space exploration game. It's a lot of fun when I just want to kind of turn my brain off and just wander this procedurally generated universe. It's really fun.
Do you remember the first video game that you became obsessed with?
Became obsessed with? Probably Final Fantasy. For the Nintendo. We didn't have a lot of money when we were kids. So when we got a game, it had to last a long time, and that tended to be RPGs. Right. So actually not Final Fantasy. I think the first obsessed like game, probably like Final Fantasy 2, because I remember those characters, Cecil and Kane, and those kind of I remember those. I remember their stories, and it was very for good storytelling. So I still remember that to this day. So yeah, those are the first one. Yeah, a lot of. I've been obsessed with a lot of games.
Yeah. What's your favorite go-to workout?
Right now, I'm doing a cross between Huberman Labs, kind of general formatting. He's got like a 7-day program, and then Knees Over Toes guy, athletic truth group. Yeah, Knees Over Toes guy is great. You can look him up on Instagram. He's got a lot of great stuff for mobility and strength and core work, and he kind of wraps it all up into the same thing. So me and the wife, We get up almost every morning. We go to the gym early, and we do that stuff together, which is a lot of fun.
Did your experience in the military just kind of beat up your body?
Fortunately, I did it when I was young, and so yeah, I took a couple. I've got a few follow-on things, but believe it or not, knees over toes guy, the Huberman stuff, good nutrition. I'm finding out more and more about those kinds of things, and so I'm still in pretty good shape. I'm older, I can feel it, but I haven't stopped pushing myself.
I see you on your Instagram. You're still doing Spartan runs and all sorts of
Yeah,
crazy stuff.
yeah, the tactical games. That was the
Yeah.
last
Oh,
thing
that's
I
what it
did.
is. Yeah.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun. That's for people who like CrossFit and shooting guns. So that was a lot of fun. Yeah.
I hope you don't think my favorite part of those posts are you look like the cutscenes where you play around with your video game character and you're in like Hawaiian shirt.
Yeah, yeah.
And shorts, you know.
Like I changed my skins up. Yeah,
Yeah, exactly. You
that's a
change your
retro
skin.
rifle. Retro rifle makes some really cool Hawaiian shirts, but if you look close, they're like got guns all over them. It's really
Oh,
cool.
I missed that. Yeah, I thought it was just like from a barbecue to
yeah. Yeah, I love it. I wasn't gonna win. I knew that, so I just wanted to stand out.
Oh, it's perfect. Great for Instagram.
Yeah.
Who's your go-to for Super Smash?
Captain Falcon. Yeah. I'm not the best Smash player. I haven't played in a long time, but he's got some big power moves that I've been able to utilize from time to time, you know.
I had you picked for more of a Marth guy, but
his stuff's too oddball. The arc of his thrusts and all his kind of movements and stuff. I think Captain Falcon's a little more straightforward. And plus I'm a Chun-Li kind of guy. If you got a button mash where you could do 100 punches or kicks and all you got to do is mash the button, I'm all about that.
I love it. Books you'd recommend?
For Chaos and Crazy Fun, Chaos by Tom O'Neill, Chaos by Tom O'Neill. It's the Manson murders, it's the CIA, it's MK Ultra, it's government conspiracies, and it's a 20-year epic that he researched. It's crazy. For culture and politics, I would say Live Not by Lies by Rod Dreher. I just read that last year, and it's one of those books that really changed my perspective on things. And then if you're a nerd and you're my age, Ready Player One, because that is like nostalgia. It's every sentence. It's some nostalgic kind of thing. It's amazing what that guy did with the book. The movie's okay, but the book is amazing.
And Dinner with Anyone Dead or Alive?
I just started watching Shogun, the Hulu series. I heard it got all the awards. I'm like, I got to watch this. I love Japan. So the guy, Tokugawa Ieyasu, it's the main guy, the main Japanese actor. He won a bunch of awards for playing him. He's one of the main dudes. I've kind of read a little bit about him more. I've seen interviews with the main actor guy. I was like, that guy seems like a really interesting dude. I feel like if I got the opportunity to sit down and eat a meal with him, I'd probably be interesting his thoughts on life, and if I could speak Japanese or had an interpreter,
Yeah, really pull your communication skill.
Yeah, exactly. that or Markiplier. I would love to have dinner with Markiplier and just pick his brain about stuff.
Yeah, I get that. And last question for you is what's the best way for people to follow or support you?
Oh man, stream 3 days a week, Monday, Wednesday, Friday on twitch.tv/myhappyself. You can go to Pop Culture Field Manual YouTube. I have a horror gaming channel called the Iz Files, and Israel Wright YouTube. There's not a whole lot on it right now, but I think that's probably where I'm going to be posting my new stuff. But Instagram, Israel Wright Official, Israel Wright on X, any of that stuff. Come join our Discord. We got a great Discord. But yeah, man, I'm all over the place. Go watch. I got some new Gameology stuff that just came out. Actually, we did Space Marine Helldivers 2. Yeah, Space Marine Helldivers 2, and then Counter-Strike 2 is the one that's going to come out. So yeah, go check those out.
Perfect. I'll link them all. Well, thanks so much, Izzy. This has been really fun. Thanks for your service and thanks for all the content you make. I really enjoy it.
Yep, I've had a great time, man. Thanks for having me.
That's this episode of Outliers. Thanks so much to Izzy for joining, and thank you for listening. I've linked Izzy's socials in the description below. Be sure to check them out, and hit follow, subscribe, and notifications so you stay tuned for future episodes.